Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Muslimah Author Show. I am your host, Naima B. Robert, and I am joined again today by another fantastic guest who has achieved beautiful things out in the world of publishing, mashallah. I am so pleased to welcome Sa'diyyah Nesar to the Muslimah Author Show. Assalamu alaikum, sis.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for making time to be with us, mashallah, tabarakallah. We go way back, subhanallah, we go way back to Sisters Magazine days, don't we?
Yeah, back in 2013, I think. Starting from there.
Crazy. Subhanallah, it's a long time. So how long have you been actually writing?
As soon as I graduated from university, I applied to write articles, and Sister Magazine was one of the first few places I applied. So that was back in 2013.
Wow.
And I've been writing ever since.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing, mashallah. And in terms of your writing, what do you normally write about? What pushes you or inspires you to write any of the articles and stuff that you were writing then?
I would normally write about coping with adversity, the stories of the prophets, just reflections on Islam, the human condition, disability, and Islam, that intersection, anything related to Islam, but tying it to my own personal experience.
Makes sense. Absolutely, mashallah. Yes, and you did write a lot of fantastic articles for Sisters Magazine, alhamdulillah. But we're not here to talk about Sisters Magazine here today. We are here to talk about your book, Strength from Within. And Strength from Within is not even your first book, subhanallah. There was a book before that. Tell us about your writing journey and that journey from being, somebody who wrote articles to being actually a published author. How did it happen?
To give context, I was born with a physical disability, and since my disability required me to, be selective of how I use my energy, I would find it easier to read books. And during my childhood, I was hospitalized a lot because I had pneumonia often. My muscles were weak. I couldn't cut out the phlegm. So the most that I could do was read books. This was back in the 90s. We didn't have Wi-Fi back then.
Yes, yeah.
So I didn't
Exactly.
any other option besides reading books. And I had a lot of questions back then, like why was life difficult? Or why couldn't I do most of the things that my peers could do? And why did my parents have to leave me at the hospital to look after my brothers at home? Why couldn't I go home? It made more sense for me to recover back at home. But this was when my mom would introduce me to the stories of the prophets to explain. He would explain that Yusuf was separated from his father as a child, and he wanted me to apply the lessons from that story in my own life. But that's where it started, and I found it very comforting. It gave me perspective. One day when I was 8 years old, right at the hospital, I was so desperate to go out, but I read the dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you release me, allow me to go home, I promise that I will write all the stories of the prophets and how it helped me cope in my life. I promise to write a book. So it started off as a promise.
Wow.
And sometimes I would want to forget about that promise when I was like 10 years old or in my teens. But there would be like subtle signs redirecting me on, fulfilling this promise. And I would wonder, okay, I don't know how to write about my life story. I assumed that most books were like fictional books, and non-fiction books were boring. And I remember when I was 16, I had a friend from America visit Hong Kong, and he gave me a book to borrow, and that was from my sister's list, your book.
Wow.
And that book I read 3 times in a row because it was a non-fiction book. It involved storytelling. It involved sharing life experiences, and then it clicked. that, oh, it's possible to write nonfiction in a way that can engage others. It's possible to share your life experiences in a way that could bring meaning and value. So then I made the intention, okay, I have to study English at university. I have to work hard. I assumed that I would learn how to write a book at university, but you don't. You don't
No, you
learn how
don't.
yeah, you don't. And so after I graduated, I was like, okay, I have to write a book, but I don't know how. So that's when I started writing articles. And I remember being very selective on the type of articles that I would write. Like my second article for Sisters magazine was on Flourishes because I wanted to fulfill the promise of writing a book on the stories of the prophets. So I would write with the intention to turn these articles into chapters one day. So that's how it started. That's how Trend from Within came. It was the first book I wrote, but the second book that came out.
Yes.
Carl Can Remember came out first, which is another book. That book is more focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how we must remember our nature as human beings so that we can properly remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and find peace. Ascent from Within was more focused on how to derive strength from the stories of the Prophet.
Yes.
And me trying to understand what it's like living with weak muscles. You know, how to find internal strength when your physical body is weak. But after writing that book, I realized that the prophets are not here. And I miss the prophets very much. I think Strength from Within kind of pushed me to write the second book. And ironically, the book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came out first.
Yeah. Subhanallah. So in terms of the writing of it, was there, like, what is your writing process? Because you are quite a prolific writer. So do you have a writing habit? Do you write daily? Do you use any software to help you? What's your trick?
For me, it has evolved throughout the years. Like, when I was younger, like when I was starting out with writing articles, I would just write down random thoughts. Even see almost daily, just reflections. And unconsciously also started writing poetry. Like I never meant to, I never had the intention to, but it ended up as poems. And sometimes my poems, like the topic of the poems, will turn into articles. It was very messy and unorganized, but a lot of things weren't coming out. As I grew up, things started to be more organized and systematic. Like I would actively plan, write down chapter topics, or develop how things would go. I would research more, I would read more, bring in some academic references to reflect on. I would just use Microsoft Word, and but then now I'm using like a writing software. I forgot what it's called. It's called Scrivener.
Yes, Scrivener. Yeah.
Scrivener. I'm using that now. Yeah, to plan, to just see all the missing pieces. And I realized my writing process changes for different books. Strength from Within was more
Okay.
organized as in I developed. I knew what I wanted to write, the chapter topic. I knew what it wanted it to be. Of course, I had a lot of guidance from you and Hind in the development stage, but at least the initial stage, I knew the direction to go.
Yes. Yeah,
And
you did.
and for us that remember, I just wrote poems first on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name. I never intended to write that book. I was asked to write, and they told me that these are the topics we need to do.
Okay.
And cover. So it was kind of mapped out. Strength from Within took a long time, like years, 3 drafts.
Yeah.
And once I remember, it took, I mean, if you put the poems aside, the first draft, it took me maybe 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah, and the second draft, maybe 3 more weeks.
Subhanallah. Well, no wonder it came out first then, mashallah. So, okay, so tell us then, Hearts That Remember, what is it about?
It's about trying to remember that even though the prophets are not here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here. And you're not alone. It's about letting go of the need to conform or have that perfect lifestyle because you're never meant to be perfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. It's about remembering our vulnerable within the society so that we can grow closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The book started off as poems on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, remembering him, calling out to him, praying to him. So it's mainly the journey of embracing our nature as human beings, as the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we can remember him in a way that he deserves.
MashaAllah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And that grew out of your poetry, which is, a really wonderful development, which I'm sure those who write poetry out there would find that really inspiring, MashaAllah. So what about strength from within then? What is strength from within about?
Strength from within is a play of words because I was born with weak muscles, so it's like how do we derive into
I
strength?
like. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and so it goes into my journey as a child that would question, like, why was life this way? What does it mean to be strong? Can we even be strong if we're physically weak? How did the prophets derive strength? How can we learn from their examples? So strength from within is about discovering how to kind of react to life's difficulties in a way that we don't go against our human nature. We allow ourselves to be frustrated and anxious or feel guilty or have fear, but in a way that we try to find inspiration from the stories of the prophets to redirect our focus and find strength.
MashaAllah. Amazing, amazing. And we worked on that book with you, and we took our time with the editing and everything. What was the process between getting signed off by your editors and the book actually coming out? Because I think people maybe underestimate how long it can take to be published, either to find a publisher or even when you found the publisher, the process of actually getting the book out. Tell us just walk us through, after we had signed off on the book, what did you do next and what happened?
After following your guidance and his guidance, you did 3 drafts, and then I submitted it under Q and wrote a cover letter. We tried other publishers, I think, as well, but I was so fixated on Q accepting this book, and I heard back after maybe a while, like a year or two, and then published like 2 more years after. Like it took like at least 3 years waiting for it to come out. It doesn't come out straight away. I assume that if you submit it, you'll hear back maybe after 1 month or 2 months, but it takes time. You hear maybe after 9 months.
Wow, yes.
10 months. Yeah.
9, 10 months. Okay, so 9, 10 months after you signed the contract, but they got back to you after, did you say a year?
I think they got back to me after 9 months, and I
Okay.
think I signed the contract like 2 months after, and
Right,
then they
okay.
said we can release, they can publish it 2 years later.
Wow. So at any point did you think, oh, this is too much, this is too long, like I don't know whether I want to wait, whether these are the right people for me? Tell us about that.
And I did wonder because when you have a physical disability, especially when you don't know how your health will be the next month, let alone the next year, I had a moment of doubt, like, oh,
Yeah.
will I even be here after
Wow.
2 years? But then, at this stage, you kind of have to trust other subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was so sure that I wanted Q Publishing to publish Strength from Within because I wanted the topic of Islam and disability to be mainstream. I wanted misconceptions to be cleared. I just felt like there was a need to wait and just trust that the outcome will be for the better. And I do think ended up for the better. I'm so grateful that Hearts That Remember came out first. A book on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came out first because it kind of prepared me on how to promote Central Within when it was time for it to come out.
Amazing, amazing, mashallah. Okay, so 2 books under your belt, alhamdulillah. Still writing, still, trying new things, children's stories, etc. How involved have you been and what lessons have you learned from the launch and promotion process of either of those 2 books?
I've learned a lot, and I think I'm still learning. I underestimated the amount of work that comes from books coming out. I underestimated that you have to be involved, you have to put the effort to promote the book, and not only promote the book, bring out the message that you're trying to convey through your work. I was doing community work, especially disability work, before the books came out, but I ended up doing more because of the message behind the books. And since both of my books touches on disabilities, I found it a responsibility to make sure that the books were available in Braille to some extent. Central Within, alhamdulillah, it's in Braille. Facts that remember, only the poems are in Braille, and some of the unreleased poems, because Hearts That Remember has around 40 poems on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names. I didn't have all 99 poems within the book, even though I wanted originally. But for the Braille version, 99 poems are released, alhamdulillah. So I underestimated the amount of work that comes. I'm kind of learning, how do you manage promoting your book and writing at the same time? Because it's kind of like a full-time job. Like there's emails that you need to reply, speaking engagements, panel discussions. I actually underestimated the extent people from different faiths might be interested to hear about Islam. Not just on disability, but also Islam. So it's kind of like an amana to keep showing up.
MashaAllah. Amazing, amazing. Alhamdulillah. And you've been all over the place since the book came out. And weren't you a TEDx speaker at some point and traveling here and traveling there, mashallah, tabarakallah, and doing lots of events and book fairs, etc. What's the main, would you say the most common feedback that you get from your readers?
There are different types of readers. Like for readers that might not be Muslim, the feedback that I get, like they have an understanding of Islam. They felt like they could connect with the message and the stories of the prophets. Like it kind of clears some of the misconceptions that she had. For Muslim readers, I heard from people from different racial backgrounds, different parts of the community, some with disabilities, some without disabilities, some are parents of children with disabilities. When it comes to those who are not exposed to the disability experience, they felt like they could talk about it or ask questions about it, which is what I hoped for. Even though this book is not on disability, it just shares what it's like growing up with a disability. But I've noticed and at least open the door to have that conversation. And when it comes to hearing from readers that have disabilities, it's comforting for me to hear from them because it's nice to hear that they find comfort, that they feel heard, understood, that they can resonate. I understand what it's like as someone born with a disability that wanted to find answers, that wanted to find material out there, but I couldn't. So it has been a positive experience, but what has been the most eye-opening for me was hearing from people of different faith backgrounds.
Amazing. Amazing is something that can actually bring people together in terms of understanding and inclusion, etc. MashaAllah. Okay, so Sa'diyyah, where can people find you? Which platforms are you most active on?
Well, I have my official website, Sa'diyyah
Nice.
Nesar, and I use Instagram, Facebook, and those are the main two platforms that I use.
Yeah, fantastic. And inshallah, in terms of your future plans, which type of book would you like to do next, inshallah?
So, children's books, I've tried writing it, just hope for it to be published, and also more nonfiction adult books. Because I announced another book towards the end of Gentleman's, and I just hope to develop that. I'm not rushing the writing process because I feel like I need to live more in order to pour more in the future.
Nice.
Inshallah.
I love that. I need to live more in order to pour more, mashallah. I absolutely love that. Well, my dear, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with every khair and continue to protect you and guide you and allow you to be a voice for yourself, for your community, for all of us, bi'idhnillah. Thank you so much for joining us on the Muslimah Author Show. We look forward to seeing more books from you, inshallah, more appearances, more talks, and inshallah, we will see you on the show again soon. Jazakallah kullu khair.
Jazakallah, sister. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. And for those of you who are listening or watching, please do give the video a like, make sure that you comment and subscribe, and make sure that you follow Sister Sa'diyyah on Instagram or Facebook. We will be putting the links to her books in the description, inshallah. So make sure that you get a copy of these fantastic books and share them with your friends, family, and community. Until next time, this is your host, Naima B. Robert, signing out from the Muslimah Author Show. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.